IHSS in North Dakota. It is called Service Payment for the Elderly and Disabled, abbreviation SPED program. And they have the expanded service payment for the elderly and the disabled, and it's called EX-SPED program. It pays for in-home care services and community-based services for individuals or that are disabled or elderly. So that's what it's called. So the SPED and the EX-SPED program, these programs help individuals who have difficulty with activity ADLs, tasks, and other service to allow them to remain in their home. They also have another program that was called, it was for is in-home support services, which is which was formerly called family support services, which provided support such as personal care and supervision and respite care. And it also offers for the in-home support services. This program funded by the Development Disability Waiver Program. It helps care for disability patients. So they do have that IHSS program. This is just what it's called there. So you'd have to apply for it there. And again, IHSS is a program if the patient cannot afford the care, the hours, then Medicare will pay for them to have home care for so many hours. It is not a Medicare program, like I stated. It's a community-based program. So what you would do, you have to go and file for the NPI number, because that's your provider's identification number. So you'd have to go on the website and apply for that. Contact our office and we'll give you the details as to where you go and apply for that. Then you would go to the website where you would go to in North Dakota. And you could try IHSS.nd.gov, because they had a family caregiver support program that they used to be what it was called, and it's the disability program now. So you could go on there and apply. Yes, you could go on there and apply. And for IHSS, it's basically the same thing. Your employees have to be trained. They have to have at least a year experience. So you want to make sure you have trained caregivers to do this program. And also for this program, if you have a family member that wants to work for you and be a caregiver, they can also do that through this plan. So you could get a caregiver paid. And it says that the caregiver can be paid up to, this is a family caregiver, can be paid up to $2,000 a month. Because all of these programs do have a limit when it comes to your family. in Colorado, the family member is only required to work 40 hours a week. They can't work anything over 40 hours a week. But a regular caregiver who is not your family can work, overtime with you on this IHSS program. So here for North Dakota, it says you could get paid up to $2,000 per month if you're a family member. That's not very much. That's not very much. Wow. So you might want to check into that. And let me see. So what you also could do is go to any of an agency that does the IHSS program and tell them, if you're a patient, you would tell them you want to, how would you sign up to get, no, let's say if the patient already have the IHSS, they've already applied for it, but they don't have a provider. They can go to your agency and then you could contact their worker and get them on with your agency. Or even if they're on with another agency and they want to transfer to your agency, it's a form they would fill out for that. And, it actually takes like a couple of days, but they're going to drag it out like for a week. And the case manager will have them transferred to you, to your agency from another agency. Now, if they have a family member want to do it here, because the family members, can't work over $2,000, you're going to a month. You're going to have, if it's a lot, like if the patient has a lot of hours, then you'll have to have a regular caregiver actually work for them too, because each patient is going to have, different hours. Some patients might have like 50 hours a week. Some patients might have 100 and something a week, which is like long care, like long hours, might be 100 and something hours, probably 12 hours a day. So you just have to, see how many hours they need. And then also, when you do your marketing, you also will get patients like that. Because there'll be patients who call you and ask you, do you take the Medicare waiver program? Then you would say yes, and then they would say, well, they're looking for an agency. And you could get it like that. Because when I first got into this and I was helping one of the agencies, we thought, because the social worker said that you would go through the social worker to get patients. But then when the agency opened and she started taking calls, she was getting a lot of calls from people who had IHSS, but they didn't have a provider. So she just took, when they called, she had just been approved, so she just took them, like that. So you really need to market, because marketing will not only bring you private patients, it'll also bring you these IHSS type of patient or Medicare waiver type of patients. Now, I didn't see some programs, they just started here recently, like in in Colorado. They require that you have to have a nurse, a RN, if you're going to do this IHSS program. They didn't always require that. And then now they do require that you have to have a RN. So there's a lady in Colorado who opened up her company in Colorado, and you can contract nurses out from her company if you need an RN. But now in Arizona, we haven't gotten everything back, because I just applied for IHSS for several agencies yet, and we haven't got all the information back. But it doesn't look like they have to have a RN. So every place is going to be different. So you would either have to hire you a RN on staff if they require you to have one, or we could check to see if there's somebody in your area that's running that program that I just told you about that was in Colorado. We could check and see if you have, somebody out there can contract nurses out to you. But if it is, it's probably, that's a field that this is all new. This home-based community program, so it may not be anybody. You might have to hire your RN. Now, one of the agencies here, she said that the lady was charging her $250 for an RN monthly, but it was cheaper than her getting her own RN because when she ran an ad to hire an RN, the nurse wanted $250 every time she went out to do an assessment, which is ridiculous. She wanted that every time. So that would, end up being really expensive. Where for the service, for the lady who lets you contract her nurses out, you just pay $250 a month, and then you can, use the nurse unlimited for patients. Like you can use her for 3 or 4 patients to do assessments. So she's not charging that $250 for every patient. It's just $250 a month. So she told me it was cheaper for her to use that service. So we'll you can always call our office. We'll give you a little guidance on what to do. Sometimes if you haven't hired a nurse before, a licensed person before, we can help you with that. Because I don't know why that nurse wanted $250 every time she went out. But, we could try to talk to that and try to help you interview to get the right nurse that you need. And we'll check your area too to see if you do have a company where you could contract a nurse out. We could check that. But if you don't, then you would have to, if the state requires it, you would have to just hire your own nurse. But I didn't see anything saying that the state required that you have an RN. But I'm just giving you general information. And once you get the information and start digging in and looking at it and asking questions, that might come up. And you may have to have an RN. I'm just saying, I don't see it that you have to have an RN in North Dakota for IHSS. Okay, so that looks like that's all the requirements you need there. Thank you so much for tuning in to Global Elite Consultant. You have a good week.